What's up, guys? We're back with another episode of we are on week 3 now of Monday Night Pro Racing series. We are here with myself, Brandon Hauff. That's Michael Massie, and we are here with special guest Robbie Lyons.
Hi guys.
Yeah, there you go. So we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna talk about the finish first. That wild last lap, that wild final corner, I guess you could say. Mike, what'd you think of it?
Oh, it was great racing. It was so it's the Pro 2 trucks, or the jumpy trucks,
Jumpy trucks, yeah.
people like to call them. At Watkins Glen, it's kind of become a combo synonymous with Monday Night Racing. I think they've done it. I don't think every season, but maybe like 3 out of the 5 seasons, 4 out of the 5. It's a staple in the schedule at this point. And so last 2 laps came down to James Bickford and Shane Van Gisbergen, who we talked about last week as as one of the favorites to win it. He was up there.
Yeah.
Heavy contact through the bus stop on the final lap, and somehow Bickford came out of that with the lead. Shane takes a huge shot at his bumper in final corner, second to last corner. Last corner. Somebody hangs on to it. Bickford cruises to his first win ever, Monday Night Racing. I thought it was fun. It was just good, hard racing between 2 very aggressive drivers. You knew sooner or later those 2 guys were gonna clash, and it was for our entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching, like, Shane was like miles ahead of the field for a while, and then I don't know, like out of nowhere, I felt like Bickford just closed in, and then he got by, I think, on the final run of the race, and then next thing I know, I'm looking up, and there goes Shane, last corner, and boom, nails him in the rear, and he hung on to it. So I'm happy for James. He's done a lot now with Charlotte Phoenix and all. That company's grown, so I'm happy for him. Locks himself into the playoffs. That's number 1, important. But we're gonna make that a segue into Mike missing once again. What happened last night, Mike?
0 for 3 on the season.
What happened?
Okay, so this one had nothing to do with last chance qualifiers or anything. I could have raced if I could have made it in, but my internet went out. The booster for the Xfinity that comes from my landlord quit working, and it was like a 2-hour process to get that thing going again. And by the time I got internet finally at like 8:45, and by then the race was well underway. So, and oh man, I hate that I missed it because I love that combo. I wasn't gonna win it or anything or get a top 10 or even, but I would have just enjoyed racing the track myself. But we'll go get him this coming week.
Yeah, no, it was a fun race last night. Watching. I obviously road courses are another degree of difficulty, but no, they looked like a fun car track combo. I've personally never driven it, so I'd like to one day. Like I told you off camera, I just bought the truck because I didn't know I didn't own it until literally race time. I'll step in those one night and see how they are, but they look pretty fun.
Well, we got a guy that was in that race. We got a guy here that actually was able to connect his internet and race.
Yeah, we have a guy he's been well in the fight all year. He's been well in the fight. Actually, season 3, Robbie? Season 3 champ?
Yes, sir. Yep.
There you go. Season 3 champ of Monday Night Racing. Robbie Lyons. I'll give you the mic, Robbie. Describe your race last night. And then, we'll go into your background and what you do now, what your future plans are, all that. So Mike's all yours.
Yeah, sounds good. I appreciate you guys having me on. First thing, Massie, is I express my condolences. I actually had the same thing happen to my internet for the Dover Road to Pro race. Actually, it was Bristol. So I was thinking about switching to Xfinity internet. I actually even remember tagging them on Twitter saying that I was going to switch. But after hearing the issues that you had, I might reconsider. But I would say if my internet was going to go out last night, probably would have been the best race for it to happen. As much as it's a fun combination, I actually think I have been part of M&R every year since they've had the Pro 2 truck race. They're fun to drive. I'm just not very fast with them. We tried going off strategy and saving some fuel towards the end. I know a few other guys were trying a different fuel strategy, but ultimately, yeah, I'm actually surprised Will Rogers wasn't up there going head to head with Shane and James. But I haven't had a chance to go back and watch any of the race back. I usually do, but it seemed like there was a lot of differing strategies throughout the race, and part of the reason Ford and Paul decided to make it a 38 lap race with no stage cautions. The other option we had to vote on in the driver chat was a 45 lap race with a halfway break. So I do think the 38 laps, start to finish was a big factor in how Shane was able to drive so far out front. But sounds like it made for a exciting finish, and for the fans watching on TV, that's what it's all about.
What would you do if you could have a do-over? Would you keep the 38 laps, or would you do 45 with the break?
I would still do 45 with the break. That's what I voted for. Part of the reason being, when it's a road course, the way iRacing's coding is that there's only local yellows. You don't have any yellows to stack the field back up. And from a competition standpoint and an entertainment standpoint, I always feel like restarts are good for everyone, especially if you're a little behind the 8 ball. I didn't do well in qualifying. We also had group qualifying, which is a big factor where people lined up, as the draft is pretty important in those trucks at a track like Watkins Glen when you're on the throttle so much. And then also you factor in if you get a 0x at all or make any contact, go off track at all, your lap is gone. It doesn't count. So it was tough to get enough laps in those 5 minutes, given all those factors, and we just didn't do it. There was kind of an issue on the start with people jumping the start and getting black flagged. I personally didn't know that it was a standing start. So to my surprise, as soon as I pushed the clutch in, my truck started rolling forward, and that gave me the old black flag. But yeah. Thankfully, myself and a few others got that settled. But I was actually in the process of pitting for the black flag right when mine got cleared. So ended up losing a lot of track position, and without any cautions to bring everybody back together, it was kind of my bed was made there.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching you last night, obviously, but it's like once you get to like that 20th, 25th range, it's like, especially with no cautions on a road course, it's like really difficult to dig yourself out of a hole, especially with the pit strategy. Like that was the only way I felt like anybody back there was gonna have a shot. And some guys, they did go from what I noticed, they went from like that 20th place range. They did leapfrog to finish 10th to 15th, but that was because I don't know what they did. I was still trying to figure it out, but I guess they did something different on the fuel. I don't know, because you didn't have to take tires the whole race. But it's just one of those things where I think I agree where I would do the 45 laps with the caution, just because I feel like it makes for more of a fair race in a way, if that's what they're going for here, and B, it just makes sense because I feel like that's what they've done in the past. And I don't know if they're trying to change that for this season or what, but it happens. But the good news is you had a good start to the season, and you're near the top 10 in points, I believe, still, right? You're about
I haven't checked the points since last night. I know that me and Nick Olson were tied for the cutoff there for the playoffs.
Yep.
But you talk about change in this season, and change in strategy, whatever. I would say this is probably the biggest season of change that M&R's had. Obviously, I haven't been there since the beginning, but probably around the second season, I started making just intermittent starts. So I've seen it the whole way through, and this is definitely this year's schedule. I feel like, from what I know, Kyle Busch had a lot of say in mixing things up. He mentioned our All-Star race last year with the Radicals of Texas, and how he wanted more races like that, more crazy combinations. So I think we're starting to see the benefits of that, and just how different it's going to be. And next week's race, I'm sure you guys will touch on that, is just even more change and going to be even crazier.
Oh yeah,
we were talking about that.
Yeah, so that Radicals of Texas is next week, right? That All-Star combination you talked about. it's so cool that it's actually a points race. It's cool for me, because I'm not a championship threat anyways. So it's a kind of track where I could potentially steal the win, because I feel like racing those cars, it's like 99% luck and like 1% skill or something. But so I'm very excited for it. Now, some of the guys around that playoff cut line, like yourself, and I actually just checked. So after last night, you're down to 19th in points, but you're only, 10 points below the cutoff.
Wow.
Yeah, that's unbelievably tight.
Yeah.
This is definitely the most competitive season, I think, so far. I mean, it's only been 3 races, but for sure. Like, I remember when you won the championship back in season 3, it was very competitive. Like, I remember, I think it was like around that time, I think this league started to take off, because that was, I think, what was that, the end of 2020 or beginning of 21? I think so. I don't remember.
It started during like the height of the.
Yeah, it was like the height of the pandemic, and I know that's when sim racing was at its highest, and I know, that's when everything just started to take off for the whole league. So, you can say you won it at the right time. You got the most attention. So there you go. You were noticed.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, it's like every season it just feels like the field is so much closer. Like, I remember last year was like just that one position on the last lap in the cutoff race. It's like everybody's just racing every single lap as hard as they can, just because that's how important it was. And I think like even the last guy to miss it was only like 5 points out or 6 points out. So it's crazy, just and this season probably won't be any different. Like, I feel like it'll be even closer. Maybe it'll be 4 points. I don't even know. But
Yeah. I don't know if you'll recall, even the championship that I won, I had a very tumultuous playoffs. I think I made it in the last spot through every single round by maybe a point or two. They compared me to Ryan Newman that one year. He almost won the championship at Homestead without a win. But we have the same playoff format where ultimately when you come down to the championship race, it's win and you win the championship. And I think my trials through the races to get that transfer spot leading up to that is actually what helped us win the championship at Homestead, was because we had been having to play strategy calls and do things differently from the get-go of the playoffs, even going back into the season. So, that was what we were prepared to do, because we've been doing it all season. And ultimately that roll of the dice with strategy is what won us the championship. And some people can call it a Mickey Mouse championship, or I got lucky, but sometimes you got to have luck on your side to win the championship. And next week at Homestead, you might see the same thing, or Texas, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to have a little bit of luck to win that race too, and luck comes in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, that actually leads me into my next question somewhat. Obviously, being a real life racer like you've been most of your life, how does that real life experience kind of transfer over to the sim racing side of it? Like, what can you take from your real life? Whether it was your Legends cars or, your late models, trucks, Xfinity, anything like that. What can you take from that? And what do you transfer over most, I guess, to your sim racing portion of life, I guess?
Well, I think the one thing that transfers over is just the aspect of patience. In real life racing and motocross, a lot of it was kind of the reason my favorite racetracks are tracks like Darlington and Bristol, not old Bristol, but new Bristol. It just takes a lot of patience in racing the racetrack. And, tracks that you run up next to the wall, like Homestead, where really you're racing the racetrack and trying to keep things together and tires under you, more than you're racing your competitors. And, the situations I've been in real life where I've driven for underfunded race teams, it's been really important to keep the equipment together and keep the tires under the car or the truck, because we don't have the money to buy unlimited sets of tires or fix cars and trucks every week. So that aspect is definitely carried over. But then where the sim has helped me in my real life racing, when I made my debut at Phoenix, I tell people this all the time. If I hadn't had the sim to do laps on before I went there in 2017, I probably would have been either throwing up in a bag or changing my underwear, headed out for first practice, because Thankfully, because of the sim, when I was looking out my windshield rolling out on the racetrack, it was something that seemed familiar, because with iRacing, visually everything's the same, and half of racing I feel like is visual. And I think that's why a lot of sim racers are having success in real life, because they have that, all the visual cues, and they don't learn to drive with the feel of the race car, you know, in the seat of your pants. They learn to drive and feel the race car visually with their eyes and their ears. So I think, I mean, in one way, real life racing can help you in sim racing, but I feel more so that sim racing is going to help you in real life when you get an opportunity for those that do.
What's it like having, you know, in this league, you have that fast repair in your pocket? What's the difference in the driving style having that compared to when you lose it early in the race, or the real life start where you don't have it at all? You can't hit a magic button, and there's guys that have to work hard to put, you know, that car back together.
For sure. And I think it was one thing they said a lot during the broadcast, my championship season, was that oftentimes I was the only guy left in the field that still had a fast repair left. So, you know, it is nice, you know, I say, especially at the restrictor plate tracks, I'm sure you know, usually where you're racing around is probably the most aggressive racing in the pack. You know, and I say the same things to my buddy Nick Olson when he plays DraftKings on the weekends.
Oh, Nick.
You know, some picks that you have that are, you know, those big money makers, they're racing around that really, really tight, you know, 15th to 25th place. That's the hardest racing in the field week in and week out. So, you know, I feel like if you're in that spot and you're racing every week, you got to be mindful of your fast repair and, you know, be ready to use it. But if you're racing up front, I'm not sure how much different you change your racecraft. You know, a lot of guys up there tend to race, you know, without so much of a sense of urgency. So I'm not sure that if that's in the back of their mind as much as it is the guys that are, you know, fighting just outside the top 10.
Has Nick Olson figured out how to bet on Monday night racing races yet?
No, not yet.
we have a Pete Rose incident?
You know, I would say that he probably would bet a lot, but now that he's in it, I'm not sure if he would bet on himself or what would go on there. I know where my money would be, though.
He might. I don't know. Knowing Nick, he might, but that's a question for him. Yeah. But anyway, just one last question. What can we expect from you later this year? If you got anything going on, what are your expectations for the rest of the Monday Night Racing season? Obviously, you know, I would expect the goal to be a championship. So what do you expect from, you know, the remaining races coming up, and even real life? Yeah,
so my hopes are a lot higher this as we get into this the last 3 quarters of the Monday Night Racing season. You know, next week, you know, I spent a lot of time hosting radical races at ridiculously large racetracks. When you think of the combination being as dangerous as it could be, you know how high drag they are. We're probably gonna be racing 5 and 6, 7 wide at Texas. It's gonna be absolutely ridiculous. But it's something that, Brandon, I mean, you've been a part of it when we've done it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's probably where I have the most experience than anybody in the field racing radicals on speedways. I think even to a point where we raced a race in the complete dark at Atlanta, yeah, and a Pocono in Michigan, and the craziest combinations you could think of. And I think that'll play into my hands a little more than I think right now. But you know, my bread and butter is when we're racing stock cars on more traditional ovals, and even more traditional road course cars on road courses, instead of Martinsville. I think it'll be good. You know, we also have a street stock race at is it Knoxville or Eldora coming up?
I'd have to look. You put me on the spot now, man.
It's a dirt track.
Anyway, it's street stocks on dirt. So, you know, I'd say the next 2 races are huge wild cards. If we can get through that, I know our playoff cutoff is I believe Trucks somewhere at Atlanta or Homestead, something like that. So we'll probably be in the same position we were our championship year, where we're just going to be fighting around that transfer spot, given how the season started. But I don't see any reason why we can't win another championship the same way we did it before. I'm pretty confident there. And as my real life racing plans, I'm planning on being back in an Xfinity car here around the summer, mid to late summer. I definitely plan on running the last 2 restrictor plate races, not at Atlanta, but Daytona and Talladega. Trying to put something together for Atlanta, but having been out of a race car for a little over a year, I'm not sure the middle of the summer heat at Atlanta is going to be the best car for this old man to jump back in. But we'll be back out there before the end of the season.
Hey, we're getting the scoop on here, huh?
First year,
all the silly
season right here.
Stuff.
But this is the part where I would ask, who do we think the favorites are for next week? But I think we might just want to consider, the whole field just to be in it. I don't really think there's one true favorite. Although I would say we'll go these 2 right here. How about that?
Yeah.
But no, I will say from experience and being in those sessions with Robbie, he does know how to host them, and he does know how to drive them, and he knows how to work the draft with them. They're very tedious because they're not a car used very often on the sim. I don't even know if they have an official series for the Radicals, honestly, but I haven't driven them if they have. But they're fun. They're a fun track and car combo, with whether it's Texas, Michigan, Pocono, wherever. I do expect Robbie to be up front though, and Massie, I expect you to at least be in the race.
Yep, that's my
Better
goal.
be there.
Make my season debut this weekend.
There you go.
But I look forward to racing with you out there. And another thing that you got to consider, Brandon, I know you have experience with it. When you make contact with those Radicals, even if you're trying to bump draft or.
So we're back. We had some technical difficulties. My fault. But we've lost our guest, Robbie Lyons. He was just about to give us some great insight. I think he was going to reveal like the true meaning of life and all of that.
Oh yeah, he was going to give us a secret on how to be successful and all that. Like,
yeah, but I guess we'll never know now. Lost opportunity. But yeah,
we'll just have to wonder.
Thanks so much to him for joining us. Hope you guys learned a little more about one of the Monday Night Racing competitors. And yeah, you can root for him on Monday nights when you're done rooting for me, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully we'll have more guests going forward. That's the goal. Get some more racers throughout the year and let me and Brandon pick their brains.
Yeah, there we go. We picked Robbie's tonight.
Yeah.
We thank him a lot for joining. He's been a good friend of mine the last few years. And I'm happy, he's a champion in that league. So, hey, might be 2-time champion this year. Who knows? But we look forward to watching the rest of the season with him. Look forward to his real life, as you guys heard, his real life racing coming up. I know he's excited about that. But anyway, just some final thoughts, Mike. Anything you want to throw out there?
Yeah, it's cool. The first time I ever saw Robbie Lyons in person was Martinsville pit road. I guess it was like 2018, 2019. And he had a bear on his head.
Yes. Oh my God.
As well some sponsor agreement or something. He had
Bubba's bear sauce. I think it was Bubba's bear sauce or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I just remember overhearing one of the crew guys say something like, they're not paying him enough to put that on his head.
No.
Yeah, I was going to give him some crap for that, but
yeah, it's a sponsorship thing,
Oh, I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. I'd be, if they were like put on a bear Speedo or whatever and run around the track, and they wanted to sponsor my car.
It's like when who did that? Was it LaJoy when he got sponsored by Scooby-Doo or something?
Oh, that was awesome. That car looked awesome.
Yeah. Did he put on the Scooby? I don't remember. It was something like that.
Something like that.
Somebody put on another head like that, because that's what it reminded me of.
Okay, yeah. He might have.
I don't know. But yeah, you guys anyway, look out for Robbie and the other like 39 competitors every week. Next week, as we said, is the Radicals at Texas, as we talked about. Tune in to Podium Esports at 8 p.m. Eastern. Should be a good race. It'll be an entertaining race. Expect something like Daytona or Talladega, except maybe a little bit wilder. Maybe. like Robbie said, be 5, maybe 6 wide at times. You could utilize the apron. But anyway, we'll see you guys next week. For Mike Massie, I'm Brandon Hauff, signing off. See you guys next week.